Welcome, everyone, and my name is Marvin Jenkins, and I'm the coordinator for the Women's Business Center for Maryland Capital Enterprises. We're a nonprofit organization, and we assist clients who are interested in either starting a new business or expanding their existing business. We service the Eastern Shore of Maryland, plus Baltimore City, Baltimore County, and Anne Arundel County. And we offer a lot of educational programs and workshops, one-on-one consulting and counseling, as well as business loan assistance. And we have two offices, one in Salisbury, Maryland, and the other in Baltimore. And I've got my link in the chat. And plus, you'll all be getting a copy of the link so that you can rewatch the webinar if you miss any of it. And I also have other things that I include in the note that I send out afterwards that will have a lot of other information that where you can get in touch with us and if you have any questions. So with that, our guest speaker today is Rosalind Davis, and she is the president and CEO of Rhoda Business Solutions. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Rosalind.
All right. Hey, thank you, Marvin. I appreciate that. Everyone, thank you for joining. We did have at least 11 or 17 more participants signed up for this webinar. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go off camera so I'm not distracted by folks joining and stay focused on this webinar. So I'm going to turn my camera off for now. But again, thank you for joining us. And this is a workshop on the System for Award Management, or Sam.Gov, Simplified. Again, I'm Rosalind Davis. I'm the president and CEO of Rhoda Business Solutions, where we specialize in program and project management, business administration, executive coaching, leadership development training, and logistics operations. We provide customized solutions and training programs that are designed to meet the specific needs of each of our clients by using widely recognized project management processes, tools, and techniques to make sure we execute their programs more efficiently. Rhoda Business Solutions, we are certified a woman, veteran, and minority-owned small business located here in the Washington, D.C. metro area. I always want to thank the Maryland Capital Enterprise Women Business Center for hosting this platform so that I could provide this training to everyone who shows up to join the workshop. I also would like to thank Ms. Portia May of Full Armor Technology for allowing me to use some of her SAM screenshots to develop today's presentation. Full Armor Technology is a global service provider of standing up and or upgrading network infrastructures, cabling installations, automation, smart home, and cloud and software as a service for federal and commercial clients. Full Armor Tech is also a women, veteran, minority-owned small business located here in the Washington, D.C. area. Now, we always have to have a disclaimer. So my disclaimer is the screenshots that are used in this presentation are actual screen captures from Sam.Gov, but the views and opinions expressed during this workshop will be the views and opinions of no other than myself, but in no way the views and opinions of the government or any other entity. I highly recommend, if you haven't done so already, to expand your Zoom screen and switch to the standard view so that you can kind of get a clear view of the SAM screenshots that are shown throughout this workshop. And if anytime you have any questions, you can raise your hand, you can put it in the chat. Marvin will let me know that there's a question, and we will take a pause and answer your question. Or you can wait to the end to ask your question. Either way, you will not disrupt me if you ask questions throughout this ceremony. And hello, Karen, an EBB graduate. Thank you for joining us today. So here is the agenda for Sam.Gov workshop. What I want to remind everyone that SAM is the federal government's online database of vendors wishing to do business with the federal government. Again, this is at the federal government level. So I'm going to start off with some required information and some documents to get started in Sam.Gov. So in the chat, I have posted some links, and some of these items I'm going to talk about through this webinar. So before you get started to register in SAM, here's some information and some documents you're going to need to gather so that when you start your registration, you'll have everything that you need to complete it at one setting. So the first thing you're going to need is your employer identification number, or your EIN. You get this from the irs.gov, and it's for your business. I've posted this link in the chat where you can go to irs.gov and request an EIN number. You must complete the online application in one session because you will not be able to save and return and go back and complete your application. So keep that in mind. When you do apply for your EIN, do not use a virtual or a post office box for the physical address, because SAM will not allow you to use the post office box or physical address. So make sure that you provide a physical address versus a virtual, excuse me for that. And then for security purposes, your session is going to time out after 15 minutes of inactivity. And at that time, if you're not finished with your application, you're going to need to start over. Now, your taxpayer identification number, or your TIN from the IRS, it can also be your social security number. It's just depending on how you set your business up. So just kind of keep in mind, sometimes it will ask for your EIN, and sometimes it may ask for your TIN. It just depends on, again, how you structured your organization. Some other documents to have readily available are your state business registration documents. So this is going to have your company's legal business name. It's also going to have the physical address and then a mailing address. But your physical and mailing address, they can be the same or they can be different. But for Sam.gov, you will need a physical address. Now, here's just a tidbit of information I'd like to share with you. If you're brand new and you don't already have a business name, you want to make sure that you Google it. Check and make sure that that name is not already taken. You also want to do a domain search on the internet. You want to just kind of make sure that the name that you have for your business is not already taken before you go and register to get an EIN or on your state's website. But in Maryland, you can also check the state's website as well to make sure that the name that you've chosen for your business is not already taken. And then one more avenue to check to make sure is opencorporates.com. I put the link in the chat. That's another way to check to see if the business name that you have selected is not taken. So one thing that I do is, once I gather all these documents, I make a folder on my desktop so that I can have quick access once I get into Sam.gov to start my application, my registration. Additional information you're going to need is your business banking, routing, and account numbers. You will need to have that available because you'll need to enter that so the government will know where to send your payments to. And then the offerings. These are, what are those goods and services, often clarified as the North American Industry Classification System, or NAICS codes, but also your product service codes, or PSCs, that you plan to sell to the federal government. So make sure you know what those are. I've also put a link to both of the NAICS and PSC codes in the chat so that you can look those up and find out what you want to sell to the federal government. And then point of contact information. At a minimum, you will need the full name, the email address, and the phone number for your company point of contact. If you are the only point of contact in your company, or the only one that you want the government to contact, you can list yourself for every instance where it asks for a mandatory point of contact information. Now, if you're used to having a third party do your registration for you, I need to warn you that only employees, officers, or board members can be entity administrators in your Sam.Gov profile. So just keep that in mind. You can't have third-party certifiers as your administrator. Any questions so far, Marvin?
Yes, we have a couple. The
Okay.
first one is, are we going to touch on how to navigate Sam.gov after we are registered? Our business is already registered, but need information on what to do next.
We are not going to touch on that in this workshop. I highly recommend that you contact the Maryland Capital Enterprise Women Business Center, and they may be able to assist you with that. If not, your Apex Accelerator can help you get started navigating the federal government process.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
That was the only question. It was just on here twice.
Okay. So we're going to go with logging on, and we're going to assume that you are a brand new entity and you have never logged on to Sam.gov. So in the chat, I put the link to Sam.gov, so that will take you there. You'll need to read and accept the terms so you can advance to the login screen. Your screen may look a little different based on the browser that you're using, but this is Internet Explorer. So again, we're going to assume for this workshop that this is the first time that you're using login.gov. So you will need to create an account. You want to enter your email address and then follow the prompts to complete a login.gov account. Now, say for instance, if you're already using login.gov on another website, it could be USA Jobs, it could be a VA website. If you're already using it, you're going to continue to use the same email address and password to sign in to Sam.gov. Keep in mind, login.gov is a two-step verification process. So make sure that you have access to the method. And that method could be email, it could be a text, it could be a phone call that you set up for verification, because you'll get about 10 minutes before it will time out, and then you will need to request another verification method. And then once you get that receipt of that one-time code, you want to enter it on the screen like you see here, and then you're going to click submit. So entity registration. So now on this screen right here in the green, it says you are ready to begin the business entity registration process. Click the Get Started button to begin the process. So you'll see the screen here is going to ask you as a new registrant, or if you're here to renew or update your SAM registration. Again, for this workshop, we're going to assume that you are a new registrant. So it asks on this screen, it says, what is your goal? What is your goal for wanting to do business with the federal government? So the first question, it says, I want to do business, and you want to say directly with the US government. That is the choice that you should select, because if you select the second choice, you want to do business with a business or other organization who receives funds directly from the US government, then that does not put you in a position to do business with the federal government. Whereas directly with the federal government gives you both options. The second choice, now you also want to bid on federal procurement opportunity as a prime contractor. The key between these bullets here is you want to be able to bid on opportunities as a prime contractor versus a subcontractor, because subcontractors do not bid on opportunities to the federal government. They do that, they provide their rates to a prime contractor. So you want to make sure that you're set up as the primary person to do business with the federal government. And so that's why you would want to select on bid on federal procurement opportunity as a prime contractor. Any questions so far, Marvin?
No, no other questions.
Okay. So who required your entity to be in Sam.gov? And so this basically is saying who asked you, or why did you decide you wanted to have a Sam.gov account, the registration, business registration. So the easy choice is I decided on my own. You don't want to select at the federal government because then they're going to ask you what federal government asked you to get in Sam.Gov. You decided on your own is the logical choice. Again, these are my views and the views of mine and of not of any government entity. So if your sole purpose is to apply for grants and loans, then register for financial assistance awards only. That would be the top box. But if your intent is to be a subcontractor or a sub-awardee, then only apply for a unique entity ID, which is called a UEI. If that's all you want to be, then your business entity registration is still required, but you'll just get a UEI that validates that you have a legal business name and address. However, for this presentation, we're going to focus on how to register a US-based business in SAM for all awards, meaning you can apply for grants and loans, but you'll also be eligible to get all awards. So when you do that by saying you want to be available for all awards, you're letting the federal agencies and other government contractors that you could be looking to team with that you are a supplier of services or goods. So you will be able to directly bid on federal contracts as a prime contractor or seek federal assistance as a prime awardee. So of note, again, SAM is for federal awards. If you're interested in doing business at the state and local level, then you need to register on that government's platform. So entity registration, it's asking you, are you registering a government entity? Because you are a business, you want to click no, that you are not registering a government entity. So then you also want to click my entity is physically located in the US if that's the case. And then you want to click next to proceed your registration. So the next screen, it says, do you already have a CAGE code? So that is a commercial and government entity code. Because you are a new registration, you are not going to have a CAGE code. I want to caution you that the CAGE code is different from the unique entity identification or the UEI. Where the UEI is issued through SAM, the CAGE code is assigned by the Defense Logistics Agency or DLA, and that is provided after your registration is complete in SAM. So this screen is verifying that you are registering a business for all awards. That's all this screen is doing. It's just saying that you are a business, that you want to be registered for all awards. So then you would just click next. This screen here, it alerts you to additional sections that must be completed to register your business entity. So it's going to go through helping you to get a unique entity ID, UEI. It's going to ask you for some core data, your points of contact, your assertions, your representations and certs. And we're going to go through all of these sections during this workshop to make sure that you understand what information is required. So again, as a suggestion, you want to create a folder or something on your desktop so that you'll have access to all this information that it's requesting. So this step right here is critical. So these 4 elements on this screen, they must match the business name and the address that you used in your state and your IRS registration. It must match exactly. For example, if you use Rhoda Business for your state registration, and then you come into SAM and says it's Rhoda Business Solutions, that's going to be a mismatch. That one keyword, solutions, could make your application get kicked back and you'll have to correct your error. So you want to make sure that whatever name you use at the state and for the IRS, that is exactly matches what you enter here in SAM. So on this screen, you're getting ready to validate your business entity. So again, it's what I have underlined here is that you cannot use a post office box or a virtual office. You will need a physical location in SAM. And then this screen is also saying when you check this box that you can provide documentation to validate your business entity. Are there any questions so far, Marvin?
No, I think we're good so far.
All right. So on the next two screens, you're going to see in SAM. So the one on the left, it says you're going to enter the year, and then you're going to use the drop down to select your state where you registered your business. And then on the right, it's going to ask you to confirm your entity information. So in this case, when we started off, we entered our information. We said we wanted a new business. We put in our business name. And so now it's asking what year did we start? And then what is the state where it was incorporated? And then on the right, it's going to automatically populate that business that you have selected along with the year and the state. So on this screen, you want to click where it says view this list of acceptable documents to understand the requirements. It's very important that you click that message there to make sure that you know what documentation is required. For example, you may need your articles of incorporation, which you get from your state. You may need articles of formation, which you can get from your state. It may be called a certificate of formation, again, what you get from your state. So just kind of keep in mind, it depends on what state you're registered in, how they classify their documents. You can also use a state receipt, for instance. In Maryland, we pay a business registration fee. So that is a receipt that I can use to say that this is a legal business. You can also use your IRS EIN documentation. So these are just examples of acceptable documents that you can use to enter into SAM to validate that you are a legal business. Now, I want to caution you where it says down here in step number 2, attach documents. It says you must attach one or more official documents. Now, here's what I found. You must attach at least 3 documents. Even though it says one or more, you will not get by with just one document. So you will need to upload 3 documents because what they're looking for is a document that has your business name, a document that states when you started it. So they need 3 pieces of information. And that's why it's critical that you upload 3 separate documents. Also, if you only enter 1 document at the bottom of the screen, it's going to be grayed out and you will not be able to continue validating your entity. And you're going to wonder why. It's because you've only uploaded 1 document. Although it says you must attach at least 1, you really need 3. Any questions so far?
Nope, we're still good.
All right. So once you get to this point, it's going to say you have successfully uploaded your documentation. Congratulations. So it's saying you just submitted your business entity for validation. This is just the validation phase of registering in SAM. You still need to continue to get your business fully registered. So we're going to proceed with that. So when you log back into SAM, now it's going to be different. So at this point, you can check your registration status by going to your workspace. So right here up at the top right, circled in red, as you can see, this business entity is in the draft registration phase because again, all you did was validate at the beginning. So now you're in the draft registration stage. to get to this point, it could usually take about 3 to 5 business days. That may change considering today, what's happening today, but typically it takes about 3 to 5 business days. If everything checks out based on the documents that you uploaded, your UEI, again, your unique entity identifier, will be visible the next time you log into Sam.Gov. And so it would be right here where it says UEI. So let's just assume that everything checks out into Sam.Gov. You would go to your workspace. You would select work in progress. So you would click those 3 dots. There's your work in progress. And then select update from the action menu. So this is going to allow you to continue with the registration for your business. So it's asking you to just revalidate your entity again, except for this time, when you see the screen, your entity should be listed. So you will see that you recognize your entity in this legal entities list. So it's going to list several of them. So you just make sure that you select which one is yours. And then you want to click next. And again, your UEI should be pre-populated on the next screen. And from this point, you still need to complete your registration for all awards. Up until this point, all you did was say, I have a valid business, and they have validated that it is a valid business with the legal address. So the first section is core data. So over here on the left, you'll see these red arrows. So here are the sections that you must complete. Unfortunately, you have to complete these sections in order. You can't jump around and complete them at any time because you will not be able to advance to the next screen until you complete these sections in order. So I always recommend that at a minimum, you want to read this page description box here in blue before you enter any information to make sure that you understand what they're asking for. Just like most websites where there's mandatory fields, they are marked with an asterisk. Now, when it says your entity start date, enter the start date that you had identified with the IRS and with your state. Now, when it comes to the fiscal year end close date, most businesses, they select December 31st as their fiscal year end closeout date. And then MPN. MPN is a marketing partner ID number. So MPIN is a 9-digit alphanumeric password. This password that you create will give you authorization on partners' websites, such as grants.gov. That's typically the only time that you will need this MPIN, but you need to make sure that you remember it. So if you have to write it down, whatever you need to do, you will need that if you want to apply for grants over at grants.gov. So again, the physical and mailing addresses, they will be pre-populated. And then under this TIN, which is your tax identification number, use the drop down to select the TIN type. So again, it could be your social or it could be your EIN. If one doesn't work, I say try the other one because you may have forgot which one you used when you registered your business with IRS. So again, don't get frustrated. If you enter your social security number and it doesn't recognize it, enter your EIN so that you can get through this screen. So once you do that, you want to save and continue. Now, if you recall from the previous slide, I use my social security number as my TIN. So for this slide, it's asking me for my most recent tax year as an individual. Because I started my business in 2022, I didn't have any business tax returns when I registered in SAM. So I use my social security number. So that is what it's asking on this screen. Remember, don't get frustrated if you enter your social and it doesn't recognize it. Just enter your EIN. So again, I started the business in 2022. So my recent tax year as an individual was 2021. So that's the information that's asking on this screen. Enter the year that applies to you and then click save and continue. Any questions so far, Marvin?
Nope, still good.
All right. So for your TIN matching, you're going to get a one-time password emailed to your login.gov email account. Again, this is sort of that two-step verification, also making sure a two-step authorization to make sure that there's no fraudulent things happening on your account. So you want to click the word where it says send the password. And then once you get that password sent to your email, you want to proceed to the next screen and enter that information. Now, going again here on the left where it says core data, and we just went through business information, IRS consent, things like that. To allow time for questions at the end of this workshop, I'm not going to cover all the subsections under core data because some of it is self-explanatory. But in this general information subsection right here in the screen, I want to focus on what it's asking here. So it's saying the entity security level. When it's asking for the entity security level, it's asking for that of the business. So that's sometimes called a facility clearance for the business. Where it says highest employee security level, that's asking for the security level for the employees. So that's the personal security. So that's, confidential, secret, top secret, or whatever that might be. So just keep in mind the difference between the entity and the employees. That's the main takeaway. This slide is a continuation of the previous general information subsection screen that's in SAM. So if you recall the note that was inside that red box about 4 slides ago that stated, if you selected your social security number as your TIN type, and then on this page is saying you must either be a sole proprietorship or an LLC in this information here. So you want to select the organizational factor or factors that are applicable to your business entity. Now, as you can see, myself, I selected LLC, but sole proprietorship because that applies to my business. So just make sure that you select the appropriate organization factors and entity structure for your business. Now, this last part here on the right is general information that says select the applicable socioeconomic categories. Now, so you can go through and select these categories, but I want to caution you that if you say that you are a veteran-owned or service disabled or women-owned, the government is going to verify that you are in fact certified by the Small Business Administration before awarding you a business set-aside contract. Sometimes you'll see solicitations come out that says you must be certified at the time that you respond to the request for proposal. So just keep in mind, whatever boxes you check, make sure that you are Small Business Administration certified because they will check, and you do not want someone to protest an award if they find out that you're not in fact one of these socioeconomic categories. So after you finish the entire core data section, it's going to give you an opportunity to go back and look at all your answers, and you must accept what your answers are or go back and edit them before you can move on to the next section, which is assertions. So assertions. This is where you will select your products and or your services. If you recall, these are your NAICS and your PSC codes. Again, those links are in the chat for you to go through and select which products and or services that you want to offer to the federal government. So you could put in the NAICS codes and then click search, and then it will provide you the options. And you can select multiple NAICS codes, multiple PSC codes that apply to your business. So you're not just limited to one. So in this subsection of the assertions, it's asking you for your annual receipts and your number of employees. So if you don't have any receipts to report, at least enter $1 because 0 does not work. Also, if you're the only employee, then just put 1. You want to click save and continue. Where it says it's optional, leave it blank because it's optional. Less information is better sometimes. Now, this page description I highlighted here because it says most registrants do not provide this EDI, which is electronic data interchange information. So again, keep this simple, select no, because you can provide it later if it's required. So this section of the assertion portion is asking you whether you want to bid on disaster response operations. So you have to register for disaster response registry. So you would use this drop down that says, do you wish to be included? You say yes or no. And does your company require bonding? So bonding is mainly for construction companies. So you will select yes or no. And then if you selected yes for you want to be included in the disaster response registry, then you select the areas where you want to offer your products and services. So you can say any state, or you can just say one state. Maybe that's the state where you live, or you can say multiple states. So you could say the DMV area, or you could say, you could get a chance to select. But whatever you do, just save and continue to get to the next screen. On this SAM screen, again, it's going to ask you to review all the information that you put in the assertion section. Make sure it's accurate, make any changes that you need before you can proceed to the representations and search section, often referred to as reps and certs. Any questions, Marvin?
Nope, still good.
All right. So reps and certs, these are written guarantees made by your entity to comply with various requirements, and they are required for the conduct of business with the federal government. So to ensure I leave time for questions, I'm only going to cover FAR, which is the Federal Acquisition Regulation response number 1. So right here, that's highlighted on the screen. This subsection refers to the person or persons within your entity that's responsible for determining prices offered in bids and proposals. So if you ever want to know what the FAR is referring to, you can click on that hyperlink there and get more information to get clarification on what exactly that FAR is referring to. And then you want to enter your name and the title of the individual that is responsible for providing this information. Now, if you selected an architectural and engineering NAICS code, such as 541330, engineering services, when you were selecting your services and products offerings, then complete this page. So you can use this drop-down menu to select the vendor will provide the information with specific offers to the government as the default response. Again, you want to kind of keep things simple in this registration. So you want to select this because at most times you will not have this information until it comes time for you to bid on this particular opportunity. So just say you'll provide it when needed, basically. Now the defense or the DFARS, the Defense Acquisition Regulation info. So the next 2 screens that I'm going to show is the DFARS reps and certs. So, and that's right here. is listed under the reps and certs. So the first screen is going to ask you if you wish to bid on or currently hold DoD, Department of Defense contracts. You either click yes or no, but if no, the rest of the screen will be not applicable. In the FAR, DFAR subsection, there's also going to be a list and a link to the provisions that you are required to read. You have to read each one of them before you can advance to the next screen. So here is what that looks like. So all these FARs and DFAR clauses, there's the hyperlink to read them. And then once you're done, you have to certify that you have read them. So on the screen, it's asking you to check the appropriate box if you wish to apply for federal financial assistance. So perhaps if you're looking for a grant or something, then you would select yes or no, and then click proceed to get to the next section, which is points of contacts. So at a minimum, you will need to enter the full name, the email address, and phone number of the accounts receivable point of contact. If the same point of contact is the sole proprietorship, the electronic, the government business, etc. point of contact, then you can select right here where it says copy. Copy from in the drop-down menu, and it'll allow you to duplicate that point of contact information. So it'll save you time in your business registration, and you don't have to keep entering the same information if it's the same individual. And I just want to remind you that, again, only employees, officers, and board members can be entity administrators in your Sam.Gov profile. So now we're going to get into small business certifications. So if you are a small business, I highly stress that you visit the SBA supplemental pages, which is at SBA Connect. What you want to do is you want to review and you want to update any information in SBA Connect, but it may also be called the DSBS, which is Dynamic Small Business screen. And you'll see some of the information that that has been entered in SAM. It's already pre-populated in DSBS, and you will not be able to change that. But there is a section in there that says the business entity where you can make changes. Now, you can complete this step after you submit your business registration, or you can do it right in the middle of your business registration. But if you do it after, just make sure that you complete this step, because this is the market research tool that is used to locate small businesses. So the federal government uses it, but also large prime contractors and other contractors that may be looking for small businesses to team with. So just make sure that you complete that section so that your business is able to be found if you're a small business. So moving on to submitting your registration. So on this final page, again, it's going to ask you to review all the information that you have provided thus far for accuracy. So if everything looks good, you don't have any changes, you want to click the Submit Registration to complete the process. Now, after you submit your registration, it could take anywhere to 10 to 15 business days for your business entity registration to be verified and activated. And then once that's done, then you will get a cage code assigned. So until that point, you will not have a cage code. So once your registration is active, then you're going to get a confirmation email saying it is active in Sam.Gov. So some key takeaways. Again, you might want to create a folder on your desktop, making sure that you have all that required information and the documents readily available that was described during this workshop before you begin the registration process. You want to make sure that the business information that you entered in SAM, it matches your IRS EIN, and your state registration information. This is the part where a lot of people get tripped up because they don't use perhaps the same name as they have described or registered with their state. You want to make sure that you complete your entity's small business profile because, again, this is market research. This is how the federal government and other potential partners find small businesses. This whole process can take about 3 weeks from start to finish. That's provided that there is no errors or mistakes in your registration. So keep that in mind. And then after it's all completed, then you will get a cage code assignment from the Defense Logistics Agency. Now, at any time, once your registration is active, you can add and or take away your product and service offerings. So those NAICS and PSC codes. You can change your point of contacts and other relevant details because you want to make sure that your SAM registration remains active and up to date, especially phone numbers, because the government will reach out and call you. And you want to make sure that you don't miss that phone call by having a phone number that is no longer in service. One other thing, if you submit an offer to the government, they will typically ask to make sure that your SAM registration is current at the time of submission. So that's why it's important to always make sure that your business entity registration is active, but current as well. Because you don't want to lose a bid and the government find that your registration is not active. You can go into Sam.Gov at any time and you can see that you have an active registration if that's the case. So when you get to this screen, I just want to say congratulations to you. And it will say you have successfully registered your business in Sam.Gov and your entity is now active. By doing so, you have made your business visible to federal agencies and prime contractors and other teaming partners looking for suppliers. So I want to thank you for your attention today for this Sam.Gov webinar workshop. This is my contact information. I am active on LinkedIn. So if you have any questions, please reach out to me and or connect with me because there'll be other workshops and trainings that we provide for Maryland Capital Enterprise that you may be interested in. So thank you very much. And with that, Marvin, I will pause to see if there are any questions.
Still no questions. So if anybody has any questions, you can unmute yourself and ask them or put them in the chat. Now's the time.
Hi, Rosalind. I just have a quick question for you.
Yes.
About how much time would you recommend allotting for registering a business in SAM, assuming you have all your documents ready to go?
I would say at least 3 weeks. And make sure it's at least that before you try to submit an offer on a government solicitation, because you have to make sure that your business is active in SAM.
Oh, I'm sorry. I meant just plugging all this information into the system. Yeah. Is it like a couple hours
Yes.
or? Okay.
It is a couple of hours, even if you have all your information readily available, because for instance, like your NAICS codes and PSCs, you still have to look them up. So you can plug in whatever your NAICS code is, but you still have to click that button that says search.
Okay.
And you also have to read those DFAR clauses as well. So yes, I would say set aside a couple of hours to get through the registration in one sitting.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Hi, good afternoon. And I had a quick question. How are you?
I'm great. How are you doing?
Doing good. So, I did go through the process in Sam.Gov. I want to say maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago. I did successfully complete this portion and I got my UEI and cage code. But my only question, because I've never did it utilize the database or, was contracted with the federal government. So my question was, when it came to applying for those grants and loans, are we able to do that under Sam.gov, or we are only able to do that with the grants.gov site?
From what I know, it's the grants.gov site. But
Okay.
but there could also be solicitations that may be listed in Sam.gov. So for instance, if you did a keyword search,
Mm-hmm.
that you may find that there may be some listed there, because there's just multiple ways in which you can find solicitations. And Sam.gov is the main entry portal for all solicitations over $25,000.
Right.
But
So when
there's
I
also,
guess, oh, I'm
go
sorry, go
ahead.
ahead.
No, you go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I guess the keyword to search for would be solicitations and then just read through the fine print on that.
No, ma'am.
Okay,
For you and what you're looking for, the keyword could be grants,
got it.
but grants in quotes, so that it only, kind of find that word.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. Duly noted. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
Anybody else have any questions?
All right. Thank
Well,
you.
if not, thank you, Rosalind. A lot of good information. I think people got a lot out of it. So anyway, I'll be sending out the recording to everyone that attended. And if you have any questions, you can go through my contact information or you can contact Rosalind through her contact information that she provided. So with that, thank you all for attending, and Rosalind, thank you again for a great session. And we'll see you all on the next webinar.
All right. Thanks, Marvin. Appreciate it. Thanks, everyone. Have a great day.
Thank
Thank
you. Have a good
you.
one.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Mhm.